The big story of the last few days has to do with WWE informing its talent that those who are using their name and likeness in ways that are detrimental to WWE with third parties must cease doing so by October 2nd, or risk fines, suspension, or termination. Now, this was said to be communicated to the roster directly by Vince McMahon himself, either in the form of a group phone call or an email. I've heard differing stories about how it was communicated. And the language there was vague enough that a lot of the talent have been very concerned these last few days about what this all means. It has a lot of them on edge. They have personal streaming channels on YouTube and Twitch. Others are on Cameo and Patreon. I know Elias has a Patreon page under that name. Elias, which is not his real name. I don't know if any other WWE talents have a Patreon. I'm sure some of them might, but I know he definitely does. This story has gotten some mainstream attention. Mick Foley, I saw a lot of wrestlers have chimed in on it on social media. Mick Foley chimed in on it. He thought, he talked about what a crummy thing he thinks that this is. Kevin Nash chimed in, replied to Mick, and said, as 1099 independent contractors, you are an employee. If you have to show up at a specific time and are restricted monetary gains in your personal time, ask for your health insurance coverage and profit sharing. So this has upset a lot of people. Due to the uproar, WWE had to make a statement. They probably saw this as getting out of hand. So they issued a statement yesterday, Saturday. This is what they said. Much like Disney and Warner Brothers, WWE creates, promotes, and invests in its intellectual property, i.e., the stage names for performers like The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Big E, and Braun Strowman. It is the control and exploitation of these characters, and what a rich word. I know what they mean when they use that word, but boy, them using that word can mean so many different things. The exploitation of these characters that allows WWE to drive revenue, which in turn enables the company to compensate performers at the highest levels in the sports entertainment industry. Notwithstanding the contractual language, it is imperative for the success of our company to protect our greatest assets and establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis rather than at the individual level, which as a result will provide more value for all involved. The moment I saw the word notwithstanding, I knew it was drafted by Vince McMahon himself. That is just one of those Vince McMahon words. That is one of those Vinceisms I've talked about before. Now, I think there's been some confusion because of a Wrestling Inc. report that stated that McMahon also made a comment in this call or this email about not only owning their character likenesses, but owning their real names as well. Fightful later heard from a number of wrestlers clarifying, saying that McMahon never said that. He never said that he owns their real names, even though there is language in the standard WWE talent contract, and there have been contracts leaked over the years. I mean, it's not that hard to do a Google search and find copies of contracts that, I would imagine even contracts from 15 years ago are probably in the legal language. I mean, maybe they're even more restrictive now, but they're probably not radically different. If you want to look it up and just see some of the language in these contracts, there is language in the contracts that talks about their legal names. And I think that's where some of this confusion comes from. Now, I can understand WWE claiming ownership of their character names, which they're well within their rights to do. Vince McMahon does not want The Fiend Bray Wyatt to sell Fiend foot fetish photos on OnlyFans. That I can understand. That would be detrimental to more than just WWE if such a thing existed. But the idea that if you have a YouTube or if you have a Twitch that you derive income from on the side, whether it's advertising revenue, whether it's tips and donations or super chats or whatever it may be, and the idea then that you would be forced to shut them down, even if you run them under your legal name, that is disgustingly wrong. And I doubt that it would ever hold up in a court of law if challenged. I don't care if it is in the contract or not. I doubt very seriously that something like that would hold up in court. And I'm not a lawyer. Not claiming to be. WWE has done well exploiting loopholes before. They've got a great army of lawyers. They've won many court cases before. But they've also never really truly been challenged by a lot of these things, especially by existing talent. It's really not happened before. You've had people who have left the company, people who have been released, that have raised the stink or tried to raise the issue of independent contractor against employee status. I think Raven and other people over the years have tried and have failed. And in some cases, it might be a statute of limitations issue where time has expired. But there are a lot about these WWE contracts, these talent contracts, that probably would not hold up in a court of law if they ever were seriously challenged on it. Now, WWE is supposedly going to clarify, and they're going to try to better explain things to the talent at TV this week and assuage whatever concerns they may have, so we'll get a better sense, because it's going to leak out. So we'll get a better sense in the next few days of whether or not this is all blown out of proportion, or if indeed they are going to make these guys close down some of their personal channels. I saw what Mike Rome, WWE announcer Mike Rome, said on his Twitch. He believes that it's just a case where you're not allowed to use your character name on your personal channels. That's his understanding of it. A lot of them have started making money on Twitch and Cameo to supplement their income. During the pandemic, there's no live events anymore. But a lot of them have been making money long before the pandemic. I don't want to just use the pandemic as an excuse. Big E started taking requests on Cameo early last year in 2019. He even talked about it. He plugged his Cameo. He was just on the R-Truth game show. R-Truth has this game show on the WWE network that started up recently, and Big E was on there. He just plugged his Cameo stuff on the WWE network. And in fact, he was talking about having rejected, I think this might have been the only request he ever had to reject. He rejected one request from somebody who wanted him to oil himself up on camera and make his pecs bounce up and down. He turned that one down. He said that one went a little too far. But there was a PR company just in the last couple of weeks that compiled a list of the top WWE earners on Cameo. And you know what? I would not be surprised if this had a lot to do with what we're now hearing about. If this is what got the company's and Vince McMahon's attention. And I know there's concerns about other people. There's been reports of Lana and other people, getting endorsement deals and such for products or beverages. But this report just came out in the last couple of weeks. That, to me, is too much of a coincidence. Because it made news on all the different wrestling news sites. They compiled the list of the top WWE earners on Cameo. And Big E was at the top of the list at $62,000. That's what he's made so far off of Cameo videos. He's very popular on there. Roman Reigns has only made $18,000 so far. But Roman Reigns also charges $500 a video. Big E charges a lot less. I think Big E is like $125. I think Big E used to charge like $50 and $100. Now he's up to $125. He's not charging Roman Reigns money. He's at least a little more reasonable. But the key is Big E bills himself on there as WWE superstar Big E. 1/3 of the New Day. And if WWE wants him to stop referring to himself on there as WWE superstar Big E, I don't think that's unreasonable. But if he switched to his real name on there and said, "Hi, my name is Etor," he probably would not make nearly as much money. But if he did and they still wanted him to shut his page down or share in the profits that he makes, that's what I have a problem with. That's crossing a line. That's where I think a line is being crossed. When these guys are designated as independent contractors and not as employees of the company. They want the control over their talent that comes with being an employee, but without providing the actual benefits that come with being an employee. They want to have it both ways. Some of these guys have YouTube channels that are actually great, that are a lot of fun and very entertaining. Sheamus has a great channel called Celtic Warrior Workouts. where he works out with a different WWE star each time. He interviews them for the first 10, 15 minutes of the video, and then he works out with them. He does their workout. And there's a lot of really entertaining videos on there. In fact, one of them was the video where he and Edge, many, many months ago, probably last year, went on a bike ride. They were probably in North Carolina or wherever it is that Edge lives, and they were in the backwoods somewhere going on a bike ride, and that was the ride where Edge took a bump. He hit a bump, he went flying off his bike, he scraped the shit out of his leg, but he has said that it was that bump when he got up and he said he felt good. That's what got him thinking, hey, wait a minute. Maybe I'm doing physically, better than I thought, and that is part of what got the ball rolling on him thinking about an in-ring return. So you could actually trace Edge's return back to that video on the YouTube channel. But yeah, I mean, his channel is great. Asuka has a gaming channel on YouTube called Kana-chan TV. So she's not really using her WWE name. And WWE should not be able to make her take her channel down. It's ludicrous. It just sounds so ludicrous to me, I have to think that this is all just blown out of proportion. There's no way that they're going to force these people to take these channels down. So hopefully they will clear this up this week. Channels like theirs will not be affected by this. Or it'll be a very simple change in the language being used and the names being used. But there's a lot of channels out there. Now, I know Lana has a YouTube channel of her own, and she thinks she's a big social media influencer. Mia Yim and Zelina Vega have their own Twitch channels. AJ Styles just went from Mixer to Twitch himself. One of the things the wrestlers also fear is that WWE may allow them to continue running their channels, but they might want them to share the revenue with them. I'm sure they don't want that. It just makes me think of Zack Ryder's show. Zack Ryder, with that Long Island, Z-True Long Island Story YouTube show, man, he got himself over. And it was a very clever, entertaining show, and then WWE caught wind of it, and they wanted it, right? They wanted the channel, they wanted a piece of it, so I think they basically took the channel over from him. And that's when the channel started to go downhill. The channel started to die a death, because he would do stuff that would now have to be approved by WWE, and they would say, no, you can't put that up, or no, you got to edit that out. Plus, now they either owned it or they owned a piece of it, so they were probably sharing in whatever money the channel made. Once they touched it, they basically killed it. They basically poisoned it, and it died. So yeah, I wouldn't want WWE to have anything with my channel either, even if I work for the company. Hands off. Stay away. This is mine. This doesn't belong to you. Xavier Woods, he's got his Up, Up, Down, Down gaming channel on YouTube, and none of the wrestlers that he uses on that channel, including himself, they don't use their stage names. So on there, he's Austin Creed? And when he has other people on like Cesaro or Adam Cole, they're not using their wrestler names. They're using nicknames, made-up nicknames. Or gamer tags, or whatever it may be. But I also think WWE has partnered up with Woods on that channel in some way. They're always promoting it. They're always promoting. I mean, Xavier Woods was just on Talking Smack, and they were talking up, 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 down, down. There's no way that WWE doesn't have a piece of that channel. So that channel's going to be fine. That channel's not going anywhere. Paige made it very clear yesterday that her Twitch ain't going nowhere. She said there is no chance in hell that we are getting rid of my stream. That's what she told her viewers yesterday. I love how she used Vince McMahon's own theme song against him. No chance in hell that they're taking my stream down. But I think WWE may have something else in mind here. In their shareholders meeting in July, one of the EVPs of the company, this was just a couple of months ago, talked about, during these pandemic times, wanting to have the talent engage more on platforms like Twitch and like TikTok, so that what they may be looking at this as is the talents are going around them to make their own money independently. And what they would like to do is they want to forge relationships themselves. WWE does. With Twitch and with TikTok. Not unlike the relationships they already have with Facebook and Twitter. I was going to throw Tout. I don't know. Is Tout still a thing? There's something else that WWE was involved in that died a death. Although I don't know that Tout was ever really alive to begin with. But they probably say, look, you guys are making your own deals here. We want to be the ones to form the deals. But of course, if they do that, WWE, the company is going to be the ones who net the bulk of whatever money is made. The wrestlers might get some residuals out of it, but I don't think it would be as much as if they were just working on their own directly with these different platforms. But if WWE says otherwise, or there's language in the contract that states otherwise, where even with your real name or something that you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, challenge it. Challenge it. One issue is that WWE is a multi-billion-dollar company. They have a team of lawyers, which makes it very difficult to fight back if you're just one person. And I can also understand not wanting to piss off your employer in the middle of a pandemic when you have 50 million Americans out of work. I get it. But it's all about strength in numbers. This shouldn't be one or two people challenging the almighty WWE. That's not going to work. They will crush you. They will crush you. It's not about one or two or three people. It's about strength in numbers. If they have one big talent meeting this week and WWE does not clarify things to their satisfaction, the power lies in the hands of the talent. The only way to change things is for the talent to band together and say enough is enough. They're not going to suspend their entire roster. They're not going to fire everybody on the roster for non-compliance. They're not going to do that because without the talent, they have nothing. But what always happens in these situations, and it happened, I think, with the COVID stuff a few months ago, is, by and large, they stay silent. Or they grumble about it to, wrestling news sites anonymously. You're not going to change anything just griping about it to Dave Meltzer. They need to speak up and stand up for themselves if it really bothers them that much. That's what all these reports initially said. The talent is concerned. The talent is upset. Well, you know what? If they're so upset and they're so concerned, then do something about it. Or, better yet, don't sign a contract when your current one expires. You do always have that option. You can just not sign the contract the next time that it comes due and the company shoves one in your face and says, here, 5 years, sign here. Because they want to own every inch of your soul. They're notorious for the level of control that they want to exert over people. That's why Jesse Ventura left the company back in 1990, 30 years ago. Jesse left. I was very sad when he left. WrestleMania 6 was his last WrestleMania. By the time SummerSlam rolled around, it was Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper trying to fill the role of Jesse Ventura. Now, why did he leave? Because he went to Vince and said that there was this video game company that wanted to make a video game about him, or they were going to name the video game after him. He was going to be the face of it. It's like a Sega Genesis game, I think, a wrestling game. And Vince said no. And Jesse said, well, I own my own name. In his case, he owned his name. He says, you can't tell me what to do with my name. And Vince said, if you do this, you're gone. And Jesse said, well, then I guess I'm gone. He stood his ground. And he left. And he ended up in WCW. The game, by the way, never got made. I don't know what happened. I do remember seeing advertisements for it, so it was clearly something that was in development. It was like Jesse Ventura's Wrestling Stars or All Stars or something like that. And maybe he was like the final boss in the game that you'd have to wrestle. But it never got made. Anyway, King Kong Bundy. When he left the company, he signed on for a computer ad campaign. Vince was hot at him for getting his own deal. And when he came back to the company in 95, he claimed that there were people and agents in the company, not Vince himself, but there were people in the company, he alleged, who said to him that Vince never forgot about the computer deal. He's not going to seriously push you like, he once did. I mean, he gave him a job, but they said he's never going to seriously push you. He never forgot about the video game deal. All those years later, he never forgot. Now, is that true? I don't know. I mean, that's what he claims he was told. King Kong Bundy had no business being pushed in 1995 the way he was in 1986, but that's a whole other issue. Wade Barrett. I'll give you one last example. Wade Barrett just came back to the company, right? He's in the process of trying to work out a deal to return full-time, this time as an announcer. One of the reasons that he said he left the company originally was because he was getting all kinds of offers. He was getting some movie offers for little, parts. He was getting sponsorship and endorsement opportunities. I don't know if this was coming from the UK or if this was from, coming here in the States. But he was getting all of these offers, and he went to the company and he would tell them, listen, I have an offer to do this. I have an offer to do that. And look, the movie offers I can see being an issue. If you're going to film a part in a movie and it's going to take you off the road for 3 weeks or a month or something, then I get it. If the company needs you, you can't just, I'm not going to go to my boss and say, hey, boss, I got to go film a movie for 2 months. Peace out, keep my office warm, because he's going to be like, yeah, get the hell out of here. So that I kind of understand. But like, even something like a commercial or something that maybe would have taken a day or two to shoot, he goes, nope. They said, no, we need you here. And they would turn down every single opportunity that came in. And maybe they're, and maybe they're within their rights to say no, but then it's on the talent. The next time their deal is up, that's what he did. He said, that's why I'm not resigning. And he didn't. He left the company. That's what more people need to do. If this is how they feel, that's what more people need to do. I mean, you heard what WWE said in their statement. They compensate talent higher than any other company in wrestling, which is true, so they can get away with this kind of stuff. So many of the people who worked there, it was their dream as a kid to one day wrestle for WWE. That's a hard thing to walk away from. And I'm sure the company uses that to its full advantage. Come on. Oh, it's your dream to be a WWE superstar. Remember all the stuff that Triple H supposedly was telling Anderson and Gallows, all that nonsense? This is what they do. Come on, it's your dream to be a WWE superstar. You're not going to walk away and give that up, are you? Well, more and more people are walking away and giving that up. But the vast majority stay because they still think that they're going to make more money in WWE than they will anywhere else, and that they're going to be a bigger star, which they probably will in WWE because they have the biggest platform. They have the biggest reach, bigger than any other company in the world. Well, with the good comes the bad. And unless they all band together, and they won't, which is why there'll never be a union in wrestling. I get that question every now and then in the mailbag. There will never be. It's been 30, 40 years now, 50 years. There will never be. As long as that happens, nothing is ever going to change. I'm reminded of the FS1 interview from last summer that Bayley did. How shocked the interviewer. Remember that woman? I forgot her name, but she was shocked. The interviewer was stunned. The look on her face was priceless. It's a GIF on Twitter. It was so funny. When she learned that, oh my God, after the show, the wrestlers, you don't have anybody drive you? After a night of work and putting your body through all that stuff, like even baseball players and stuff, they have like a team bus or something, but like, you guys don't have a driver? You have to drive yourselves from town to town? Bayley said, yeah, sometimes we're driving 4 hours after a show and we get lost and we're in a dangerous place and I'm almost out of gas. And this woman was mortified by this. And then she says, you don't have a collective bargaining agreement? And Bayley probably wanted to crawl into a hole at that point. I can only imagine what was going through her head in the middle of this conversation. But, the other woman was stunned. I would imagine most people who don't know anything about WWE or pro wrestling probably would be if they knew these things. But the reality is that only the talent can change things. You're never going to get enough of them, though. You're never going to get enough of them to agree on what bread to use for the ham sandwich. So these are the kind of things that they're just going to have to live with. But if it's the character names that are being that are causing issues here, then it's very simple. Log into your YouTube account, log into your Twitch, and swap out all mentions of your WWE name with your real name, or make up a nickname. Problem solved. They cannot force you to take your channel down. And if they insist, well, then when your contract comes due, you need to make a choice about what's more important to you. Your bank account or your freedom? That's really what it comes down to.